Welcome, golf fans, pursuers of knowledge and the almighty dollar. This is your golf guru bringing you the 2022 Rocket Mortgage Classic. This is going to be my pick show where I'm going to give you my top 20 picks, which includes 5 cheapie plays. I'm going to go over all the analysis on those picks. I'm going to give you ownership projections. We're going to talk weather. There is right now, I think, a little bit of advantage on an AM/PM split, so we'll dive into that. And with that said, thank you for stopping by, and let's go talk some golf. Okay, so real quick, if you missed the preview show, real quick, I just want to tell you the areas that I'm focused on. What do I think these guys need to do to be winners, or at least get in the top 10 from a DFS perspective? And number one is, pretty much always, approach is crucial. Putting shows up a ton here on bent greens. Driving distance, why not? It's not so much off the tee you need, but just I think there is an advantage, especially on a couple of these par fives, to having some distance. Short game definitely shows up over being a ball striker. Scrambling, the procs to the pins that really come up is this 125 to 150, 100 to 125. You can see if you add that up, that's, I don't know, somewhere around, what, 35%. They got a couple tough par threes here, so we're going to look at that. And also, again, I already mentioned the gettable par fives. And, of course, you have to go low here. On average, somewhere between 25 to 20 under, and birdies, eagles, and birdies or better opportunities. So that is everything that I looked in a large model that kind of got me to the first understanding of the guys that I was interested in. Comp courses yesterday, and not in the traditional sense of, hey, this course is very similar as in playability, so it makes sense. We also want to look at, guys have done well there. What I'm looking at more of is the courses that yield a very high score, that it is a bit of a birdie contest or a putting contest. And so, of course, a lot of courses that these guys just played. So you got TPC Deer Run for the John Deere. You got the Travelers at the River Highlands. Shriners at TPC Summerlin in Vegas is a score fest. Even Waste Management, which was back in the spring. And I'm not going to use TPC Sawgrass with the players, but I am plugging in TPC Craig Ranch. And also I threw in the Wyndham. On average, somewhere between 15 to 20 under is the score there. With that said, these were the guys that came up against my model, number one. And again, this is against the model that I just kind of mentioned. And I'm not going to go over these. I went over in the previous show, but you can see the list. What this is showing is my showdown model. So what I was most curious about is, I was curious on how the guys would do against my larger model, but I wanted to see who's the guys in this field that would score the best against those courses. And you can see birdies, eagles, bogey avoidance, and birdie or better gain. So again, another list if you're curious and you're building teams, not a bad list to look at. All right, so I mentioned that this is a bit of a putting contest. And so what we are looking at here is, let's break down, like I kind of do my Ironman or proximities of pins. Let's see who does the best putting. So overall, so the last 24 rounds, best putters on bent greens. This is your list right here. And then I want to look at, because there's been, I believe, the last 9 tournaments in a row they've been on bent greens, except for the US Open, I think. One of them didn't, but what I'm getting to is they've played a ton of bent greens, and that's including the Barracuda and the Barbasol are both on bent. So what you're looking at there was, all bent greens in at 24 rounds, the last 6 tournaments. And then what I wanted to see for me is, let's just look at the last 3 tournaments and just see where these guys come, again, putting. And then I mentioned we'll look at the weather a little more, but AM/PM, I think there is a slight advantage. Thursday, the winds are going to kick up, and I believe gusting up to 25. And, where this is located, and, right out of the Metro Detroit area, not too far from what we used to call the Detroit City Airport in Highland Park. And these are the guys against my model that have early tee times. And again, I'm not saying it's a huge difference, but if you're curious, and maybe even more if you're curious in playing showdown, these are some guys that you might want to focus on. Again, looking at the last 24 rounds, having the early tee times. You got guys like Finau, Cam Davis, Cantlay, Stallings, Hubbard. And just a side note, it does look like Mark Hubbard's going to play. Funny enough, within DraftKings, they were showing him out because, I guess, of his pulling out of the 3M Open. But I even tried to ping him on Twitter just to confirm. But everything I'm seeing, nothing from the PGA Tour has announced that he is not going to play. So with that said, I'm excited about Mark Hubbard, and because which you probably didn't hear a lot about or see a lot about is that he, I think, had a second and a fourth, or a third and a fourth at the Barracuda and the Barbasol. And even though Not the greatest fields, but those are bent greens, and he putted lights out and had good irons. And we'll look at Mark Hubbard a little further. Anyways, this is a good list if you are thinking about making some AM PM flights. Okay, let's go jump over into Fantasy National and let's do some player analysis. Hopped over into fantasynational.com, and as always, my plug for them: if you are wagering any kind of money into DFS or betting for golf, you need to be able to use this tool, and it's a huge, I think it's a differentiator. You can definitely check me out, and I do quite a bit. And some of you guys and gals have mentioned that you've recently signed up, and that's awesome. And yeah, I will try, if you have a question on how to use it, I'll try to respond, or even create a quick video. I just haven't had a whole lot of time to do the video stuff. But we are going to be looking at DraftKings pricing, and I always state that if you do your fantasy golf within FanDuel or Yahoo or whatever, again, just the pricing is going to be a little different. We're going to be looking at the last 24 rounds of golf. It's what the data will be pulling in, which is the last 6 tournaments. I've got no filters on, but I always state that I've already done some pre-filtering, looking at the comparable courses that I want to look at, doing, bent greens, all that kind of stuff. I've already done that, and I've come down to these guys. So I've done, of course, pre-work for you. And as always, we got a mini model. So these are the 5 stroking categories that I think are most important out of that larger model. Approach, putting, short game, that proximity that shows up about 20% of the time, 125 to 150. I like driving distance. I still think that is going to help. Now, even though, you could look at the different few years of where people ranked and say, well, this guy did it this way and this guy did it that way. That is all true. Also, though, the field has never been as strong as this field. I think some of the other analysts really haven't focused in on that this is the best field that the Rocket Mortgage has ever seen by far. And that's also going to dictate. So, when you sit there and go, oh, well, Wolf and DeChambeau, yes, they might have came 1-2, but then look at the guys below are all plotters. I agree with some of that, but also you've never had, I don't know, maybe 20, 30 guys in the field that are very elite off the tee and elite ball strikers like we have here. So I think that's going to, it's going to be interesting. I think you're still going to see a few guys that are the plotters that are going to end up in the top of the board, but it's not going to shock me to see a Will Z, Cam Young, a few of those guys at the top, maybe a Taylor Pendrith, Wyndham Clark. We'll see how that all works out, but I've got my own kind of thought process on that. And then, of course, as always, I'm going to be looking at birdies gained over the last 24 rounds. And the reason why is because, of course, you have to score here. And what we want to see is this nice green going on the way up. And then recent results. This is the past 5 tournaments they played in and where they ended up position-wise. And then have they actually ever played this tournament at this venue? And, of course, every Rocket Mortgage has been played at the Detroit Golf Club. So all the tournament history we can use. With that said, at the 10,000 range, you've got 4 guys that you have to make a decision on. And this was difficult. I'll say that. And yeah, I think pricing from a DraftKings perspective is not easy either. I think they've got a lot of 9 and 10,000 guys. And then, it kind of drops to the 7s. I feel like the 8s are kind of weak. So bear with me when I go over my picks that you're going to be like, oh, wait, he's picking a lot of guys above. But, wait, there's going to be a lot of guys in the low 7s that I'm also using. So I don't go out, of course, I always say this. I'm not trying to I'm not picking the best guys. What I'm picking for you is guys that you can use, a small group that I think are best for a GPP environment. And I want to get that right. Now, if you take my top 10 picks and you're doing cash game, you're good to go. If you're going to take the top 20 and kind of, use that pool to make your GPP large, like the 250,000 game, 150 entry, that's what I'm trying to talk about. So sometimes people get a little confused on, how to leverage or use these picks, and I just want to clarify that. All right, so after all that long-windedness, you've got a decision here, and going into it mentally, I was thinking I was all over kind of Will Z, Cam Young. The more I kind of dove into it, where I've kind of fleshed out to is I actually like Patrick Cantlay and Homa, but I still put Will Z in there, and I'll talk a little bit about that. But right off the bat, Patrick Cantlay, I've been a bit off him, funny enough. And it's funny when you look at his, results, they haven't been bad. I feel like his putting, it was a little bit off compared to what it usually is. But I mean, where this guy excels, where he's gained 14.5 strokes, we can do this real quick for you so you can see it. But you can see on bent greens, the guy loves bent greens. And we look at his best putting performances ever. One was at the BMW where, he beat DeChambeau in that playoff. And you can see he didn't do a whole lot. I mean, positive, but nothing amazing on approach off the tee or tee to green, but gained over 14 and a half strokes. I mean, I guess the most strokes ever gained with a putter. You can see here that was at Caves Valley, and it was a par 72, bent greens. Of course, Memorial, we know he's done well on those bent greens. Long story short, he does very well on bent, and so whenever he's on bent, I kind of like to play Patrick Cantlay. Even though you can see he's going to be super chalky, and of course, we'll go ownership projections. Tony Finau, you can honestly make a very strong argument, and I have no issues. If you're putting a lot of teams together, honestly, I think out of these 5 guys, you can kind of mix and match. I think where the rubber meets the road is the picks below. But of course, Tony Finau just coming off a win. He's gained, I think, 5 consecutive events with the putter that at least that I know. So we can't see the Open. The Travelers, he lost a little bit. That is bent greens, but you can see here, gain in these 4 events. The RBC is bent grass. Charles Schwab is bent grass. The PGA was bent grass. Wells Fargo is bent grass. And then, of course, recently at the 3M Open. So the one area, right, that we were nervous all year with Tony, he's kind of went through this evolution where struggled a little bit ball striking, but then got really good ball striking, but was really bad with the putter. Now it's all come together. I mean, you could say the proximity 125 to 150, has not been the greatest. So, you got to make a decision here. And for me, Cantlay would be number 1 in for me. I also like Wilsey, but he, can struggle from that shorter range putt. But these greens are so simple, and out of the 2, I'm going to go Wilsey or Cam Young. But Max Homa is probably one of my favorites. You can see just lit up. And also, I'm a big fan of Max, but he's also been playing amazing golf. And when you get to that pricing at 9,900, you can literally start your builds right there. Betting Cam Young, I already mentioned that. Betting Wilsey, just because, like I said, I've been betting him all year, and I'm not going to miss out now. They both have a really good chance to get their first win on tour here at the Rocket. There's been a lot of first-time winners at the Rocket Mortgage. Nate Lashley, not DeChambeau, but you also have Cam Davis, who got his first win here last year. All right, so that's kind of the top 5 where I'm falling in, and I'll summarize that more when we get into those picks. I have no issues with Cam Davis either. 9,700 for Cam Davis, so when I can get Max Homa for 9,900, I don't think there's any decision. Same with Adam Scott. I've been playing pretty good golf. It's all going to come down what the putter's doing. Let's go take a look at Adam Scott real quick. So you see around the green off the tee is where he's kind of struggled a bit. Did not have a good showing at the Memorial. I mean, went nuts with the irons and could not make a putt or chip. And then we don't have data, but you can see good finishes at the Open, at the U.S. Open. So I have no qualms with Mr. Scott. I'm going to go to actually Keegan Bradley. $100 cheaper. The guy was in Fuego with the putter. We'll go show that real quick on bent. You can see over the last 12 months, bent, it's showing, but I mean, typically we always think of Keegan Bradley as a bad putter. You can see bent has always been his best surface. You can also see this over his last 10 tournaments. He's gained across the board. Travelers, he gained about a stroke, which is bent. The Memorial gained 3.4, which is bent. And then he went nuts at Wells Fargo. That was at TPC Avondale Farms, which was bent. And, so I mean, he's always been a pretty damn good ball striker. And I think if he can pop with the putter, also he had these 2 missed cuts. So I'm kind of thinking from an ownership projection, I like the Keegan Bradley play. And there's a bit of that here. I mean, Kevin Kisner and Denny McCarthy is a bit of that, right? I mean, I told you guys can get it done different ways here. I mentioned earlier in my preview show that Kevin Kisner actually, over the 3 years that this tournament has been held here, he is the leader in stroke gain tee to green. And you can see pretty much well represented a T8, a third, and a T46. Now, the flip side of that is Kevin Kisner has not been playing the best golf. Of course, he had a win at Wyndham last year and had that playoff that he had a 6-man playoff. And then you've also got his second place, which is not going to show up here at the WGC match play. He had a third at the Sony, a fourth at the Players, had a nice little string of miscuts here. And then it's kind of shown up again at the Travelers and the Open. I've always stated this, there's certain courses that Kevin Kisner, even Kevin Na, there's certain guys where, they know that they have to perform well. This is their chance to have a good showing or a win. I believe that the Rocket Mortgage falls under that camp. Denny McCarthy, right, again, with the putting angle. I mean, the guy's been playing great golf, a T5, a T7, a T6. A lot of that has all been done on bent. We already know leads the PGA Tour, gaining strokes with the putter. At least last I knew. For sure last year, I think he's either 1 or 2. But he's also been doing other things. I mean, you can see gains over half a stroke on bent. That's pretty rare you're going to see that. But he's actually been, hitting with the irons a little bit off the tee. Off the tee, he's never going to really do amazing, but at least he's picked up the iron play. Always going to be good around the green. And like I said, the putter is his weapon, which typically half the strokes that you make are with the putter. And sometimes people forget that, yeah, it's great that you can drive the ball 350 and you can hit it within 20 feet. But if you don't make the putt, it's totally worthless. So that's, you just kind of flip around. They're working their way from green back. All right, a lot of talk about Mab McNeely. I've said this multiple times. I haven't seen enough out of Mab, and I'm just going to kind of stick with my theory of when he's on POA and specifically in California, I'll get excited. He played at the Barracuda, which is in Truckee, California, and had a pretty good showing. But again, that's California, so I think I said his parents, I guess, own a place right there on property. Sahith Theegala, I'm okay just to take a pass. Funny, projected ownership 0. I don't believe that, so we'll dive into that. But played here once, had a miscut. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know. It would make sense. Everybody's on Theegala, and then everybody's off him, and that's when he would win. I'm back on Riley. Of course, he had the miscut at the Open. Missed it by a stroke. Just never got the putter working. Didn't play terrible golf. Let's go look at it real quick. I say that, and then let's go see exactly how the stroke gain fell out. All right, so gained a little bit off the tee. I mentioned gained nothing with the putter, and that was correct. Gained a little bit off them. Irons were just neutral, and typically you can see the irons have been a weapon for him. Also, typically, I mean, he's got some pop in his bat. What is he? Driving on average about 310 and pretty accurate. I mean, everything says that this should work out pretty good. These two numbers can make you a bit nervous. Losing 8 strokes on bent greens at the Travelers, that's an anomaly, right? I mean, that's just a bad couple days, or well, for him it was a bad 4 days with the putter. I don't expect that again. These greens are not complex. They're fast bent greens, but I'm not worried about that. So I'm gonna go back to Davis Riley. No, thank you, Tringali. I tried, man. You had that one amazing round at the Genesis, and then hasn't done a whole lot since. I think Adam Hadwin's a good play. I'm not going there, but it all makes sense. And he's at a T4 here and a miscut, but his game should suit here, right? I mean, pretty good short game, good putter, pretty accurate with the driver. I think typically it's the irons. Yeah, it doesn't do a whole lot with the irons. You can see lately, though, he's been on a I can't putt anymore kind of run. And the irons have not been firing. So that's a bit why I'm off on Adam. Webb Simpson, if you've been watching me for a while, I'm going to state it over and over and over. It's not the Webb Simpson we know. And until he top 5, I mean, next week at the Wyndham, I'll probably play him. I mean, it's almost impossible not to play Webb Simpson at the Wyndham. He named his daughter after the course. So the guy just owns that place. But other than that, I'm going to hold tight. And he is just not doing Webb-like things. So he'll have a good round. So if you're playing Showdown, you want to put him in, if he's teeing off in the morning, makes total sense. He can get hot. But 4 days of golf, I've not seen it yet. I guess the best have been the Travelers. Let's go take a look. Let me go see this real quick. Yeah, so tee to green has been bad. Funny enough, the one thing he used to be really good at was the putter. And then he lost tee to green and then gained a little of the putter. So, I mean, I don't know. I just haven't seen it. I know he dealt with a neck injury. That was like a year ago by now, so I don't think he made that for excuse. So I'd rather go to my boy Russ Henley. Right now, crazy ownership projections. We'll have to see how that runs out. But I think you have a kind of a dead zone here in pricing where there's not a lot of people excited. The one person I'm super excited about is playing Mark Hubbard, and it probably will blow up in my face. But and you can see there's a lot of other people excited to play Mark Hubbard, which I think is crazy, paying $8,000 in this field for a Mark Hubbard. But we'll talk a little bit about that. Let's go back to Russ Henley. I mean, one of the elites on approach. At one time, I think it was even above Morikawa, I think last year. He's so hit or miss. You could make an argument that just as good would be Webb Simpson, but I'm a fan of Russ Henley. And you guys already know I've been chasing the Russ win like an idiot. And I'm going to keep chasing it. But if you want to know what he does very well, typically keeps it in the fairway, amazing with the irons, and can get super hot with the putter. He is one that can go rattle 6 birdies in a row off and then, throw a couple double bogeys in there. But usually pretty steady. And it was always known on Bermuda that he was a really good putter. That's fallen back a little bit, but that's what's going to come down like a lot of guys, what the putter does. Gary Woodland, though, not my cup of tea. I don't need a great ball striker that can grind it out. I need a guy that can go nuts scoring, and he can't putt. what I want. You can see this out of the field, ranked 93rd over the last 6 tournaments he's played. So no thank you there. Mark Hubbard, I mentioned, and this is also not pulling in the Barracuda, which I think he came in 4th, and they're both on bent greens. The guy's been on a tear. He's a good putter, got that little short putter. He's also at a 12th here. You can see the model is just in love with him. Driving distance is not where it's at, but we don't give a crap. We don't need him to be long. It's not a long course. You take a par 72 and divide it by 7,300 yards. You don't need it to be that long. So I'm all over Mark Hubbard. Bet him. I think he's got an early. A lot of these guys too also have early tee times, so a little bit of that did come into my. Not all of these, but quite a few of these guys. People are asking me first round bets, so first round leader bets. I've already mentioned I go after guys that are teeing off early in the morning, that can putt and watch out. And Mark Hubbard's one of those guys. So a round 1 leader would be good too if you want to bet that. Chris Kirk, just makes total sense for me. You can see he's had a really good tournament history here. I like the price at 7,800. I think it's a pretty good value for what you're getting. Been kind of up and down, 15th to 7th, and then, a couple higher ones. It's going to come down to the putter with Chris Kirk, but everything else makes total sense for me. Let's go take a look at him for you real fast. So, 300, pretty accurate. And funny enough, the one surface he does gain is on bent greens. Let's go take a look at that. So let's click on and see. Yeah, so there's Memorial. I mean, that's a while ago. Schwab, that's bent. That's Bermuda. I think the Wyndham. I thought it's Bermuda. Yeah, just wanted to clarify. Hold on a second here. Bermuda, that should be bent. Again, it's so long ago. Where's the most recent where he's gained a lot of strokes with the putter? It's the CJ Cup. That's not too long ago. The Sony. Oh, well, you can see the putter can be the issue. But he can also get hot with it. So I like Chris Kirk. Scott Stallings, I talked to him about quite a bit in the preview show. And yeah, I mean, he's been just nipping for a win. The Open and the Memorial, not too worried about that. Typically in these kind of weaker fields is where he can get super hot. But anyways, he's done some damage here recently on bent greens. The guy's got a little pop in the bat too. I mean, he hits it, on average about, I think, more like 310. Can get a little wayward. And he's been stroking the irons. So you can see, been still good, all good. Putter's been good. Irons have been either nuclear hot, maybe a little cool here and there. But yeah, I like it for a bet. I know he's 55 to 1. A lot of people kind of scoffed at that, but I mean, anytime someone says, well, I'll give you $55 for every dollar you give me, I think you'd take that. So I like Scott Stallings. Out on Streelman, you can see the model puking all over himself, just not putting. I mean, not that he couldn't do well here, was he? Yeah, he's had a T35 here once. Tom Kim, I did it last week. No issues. Not that he couldn't do well, but no thank you. Troy Merritt, right? Of course, he had showed up here in the playoff last year. Had a T8 before. He also was up there as in, past history, best strokes gained. This is what I'm looking for. So funny enough, I'm okay if you don't drive it far. And even your irons have to be great here. But man, if you have a really good short game putter and good from this 125, you could do some damage here. And so I'm very interested in him. Cam Champ, we talked about him. Like I said, it wouldn't shock me. I actually bet him. I like him for a bet. That's about it. Just because, like I said, I'm always waiting for that guy to get a win. You can see he's got a decent course history here. And again, you think about Cameron Champ, the driver, he's won on bent before with the putter. He's went nuts. The irons have been okay. It's typically been the short game and the putting that's been letting him down. And he says he feels amazing. So I don't know. We'll see. I'm not recommending him from a DFS side, but I'm recommending him if you'd like to put a bet on him. I wouldn't scoff. Day, no thank you. Steele. I was going to go back to Steele. I think I even bet him early, and then I actually pulled the bet out. The more I just kept thinking about it, I really feel I'm more leaning towards the putting and short game than I am the distance and the irons. And he, if I had to have three of the other, like if I had to have, super distance, great with the irons, but terrible around the green and terrible putter, or flip that, I'll take the guys with the short game, the putter, and then work my way back. Because, like I said, this course does not demand ball striking. I think Matt Kuchar could be a very solid play. I'm not going with him. Just only has so many picks. But I'm just telling you, I have nothing against him, and I don't think it's a bad play at all. This course could kind of fit a Matt Kuchar. Again, in the beginning, I was kind of leaning towards distance and, the Bombers. From a betting side, I'm still going to sit there. I'm also going to make a couple lineups with a Bomber lineup. And so that would include Taylor Pendrith, Johnny Vegas, Cameron Champ, We got quite a few bombers here. Cam Young, Will Z. You could throw. I feel like Finau is actually doesn't, not even in the distance comparative to some of those guys. Mullinex, but I'm not going to tell you that should be your main build. Chris Gotterup, put him right there in that bomber squad, but he's also doing other things. He actually leads this field in driving distance over the past 6 tournaments approach. So, and he's not red here. So I think this is a big advantage as a whole. Never played this tournament. Let's go see. I don't know if anything's on bent greens. We don't have a ton of data, but yeah. Driving distance 325. That's crazy. So, small sample size. He's a little bit below on bent. But I like Gotterup, and I'm just curious how many people will go back to him, Rick. Didn't do that well at the 3M Open. Not what we were thinking, I guess. CT Pan, funny enough, again, I have no issues with him. And this is now, I'm kind of getting into, in the large GPP, we need some differentiation plays, and that's why I like Harris English. He missed the cut at the Open, but I don't have any problem there. He showed us at the Travelers that he's getting the golf game back together. He's had a little bit of time to rest. I think his game is just getting better. The guy, you go take a look. This guy on bent greens can putt the lights out, and he's also, over his history, can handle the wind. And not that we're gonna have crazy windy conditions. I just know what to sell, but you can see, a putting around the green specialist. This kind of goes back to. He can also be. You see in this kind of era here, he can also be a great ball striker at times. But really, what he does, what I know he can do. Of course, the Travelers he won. That was on bent. Tournament of Champions, he won. I believe that's past Palm, Bermuda, whatever. Same old, same old. So Harris English is a pick, and I'm stating this as a differentiation play. I think Harris English for $7,300. I'm looking to kind of strike while he's still trying to make his comeback. We'll see if that all works out, but that's my kind of move. You could also make a stance. Oh, Ricky Fowler, has had a decent course history here. He's an ambassador. But the putter is just a debacle. So I'll take the guy that I know with inside 10 feet. You feel very confident every time. Nick Hardy, no problems. I'm just not going to do it. It's not the skill set that I'm specifically looking for. Mackenzie Hughes was actually in, so I'll just let you guys know right now. Mac Hughes was actually in before I made the switch to Harris English. But I think Max Hughes, we'll have to get in the ownership projections, was higher owned. But I think either or. I think they're very similar in skill sets right now. Svensson's probably the one pick that's a little against the grain. That could be a terrible putter, but you can see over the last 6 tournaments, this guy all of a sudden has become an amazing putter, and you can see that right here. I said 6. It's actually like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and all of those. Yep, every one of those are bent greens. Every one. So you take the ball striking that he can produce. I think it's a great bet. I think it's a great play. He burned people last week. So, and I think, did he gain? I think he even gained at the 3M Open, right? He gained, lost everywhere else, but gained with the putter. That's very rare for Svensson. If anything, you'd expect to see gain and tee to green and lose strokes with the putter. So anyways, he's found something. And if he can match that up, it could be a good chance for him to win a tournament. Wyndham Clark, there's a Luke List, there's Wyndham Clark's again. I don't know why I just like Wyndham Clark here. Also, he can putt. He's also had a 17th here in a withdrawal. He does, the irons are usually bad, but the putting and the driving. So I kind of like Wyndham Clark. Now if the projection ownership ends up being like this, I will be making some pivots, especially at this price tag range. But right now, that's going to be the guy that I'll lean on, in that price range. One of the guys. Kitayama, no problems. And then Patrick Rogers, I don't know why. I just have a feeling. I don't know what it is. I honestly don't have anything quantifiable. You just have that spidey tingle sense that Patrick Rogers could do very well here. Now you can see bent is a really good surface for him. You see typically a good putter. We've been all waiting. I don't think he's actually still got a win since coming out of Stanford. No. Let's take a look at this here. So that's bent. Poa, bent. I believe, yeah, that's bent. So you can see the putter has been elite. Sometimes the irons can click again. I don't know why. So this is a bit, we'll see. Again, this projected ownership is not correct. We'll go into it to make sure we get that correct for you. I think Danny Willett, honestly, is a sneaky play. I will plug him in a few, so I like him again with the putter. Stuart Sink I was on last week, but he made me play. Now, if that putter goes, I think it's a great course for Stuart Sink. So you got to make that decision. Is that going to work or not? Because I watched him just miss too many putts, so it probably soured me a little bit. You got a Hammer and Hank, no issues, just nothing, I'm too excited about. Trey Mullinex, again, if you're building a bomber lineup. I'm going my Smotherman. I'm not going to jump off him yet. And let's go see here. So again, this fits a really good bomber lineup at the putter. But you can see the putter has been kind of, not terrible. And so I'm going to go with it. I'm going to stick with my boy here. I'm not expecting him to win, but I hope for that, if it's that projected ownership and that price tag, that he can help me differentiate. And last but not least, the guy that I wanted to talk about, that is, I call my differentiation pick. And I don't want you guys to go dupe me with this, but if you're brave enough, I like Austin Cook. And I haven't heard anybody say that guy's name at all. And you can see for the last 6 tournaments, he's playing very well for that price tag. He's played here. He's made 1 cut out of 3. Let's go take a look at Mr. Cookie. You can see on bent greens is his best putting surface. That's typically where he fits in. You can see that here. He's been doing well with the putter. Off the tee, I'm not worried about because he doesn't hit it far. But if he fires with the irons and does that with the putter, had a nice showing on bent greens at the RBC, the John Deere. Where else? See, anything else? That Fortinet, he showed up. So yeah, that's kind of the sneaky play. That's my differentiation guy. Okay, let's go jump over into ownership projection. All right, so real quick, still in Fantasy National. Pretty decent. We got about 9,300 actual lineups that have been generated and put into DraftKings or wherever. I'm guessing DraftKings. I know nothing really shocker here. So you got your top, most expensive guys, and those are all the high ownerships. The top 4 being the chalkiest. Cantlay #1, Homa, Finau, and then Davis. If you want to differentiate a little bit from those guys, you can start out with a Young, Riley, or Will Z. And you can see, no shocker. A lot of the guys that I like, a lot of other people are using. And hence why I had to get a little bit different. I think Kisner is a little different. People, I don't know. I have a hard time believing Kevin Kisner at 9,100 will actually be over 11% owned, but we'll see. There was another one I was a bit shocked when I saw the number. Maybe Patrick Rogers at 10%. Again, be kind of interesting. I'm scrolling down because I just wanted to show you. So there's English. He's less than 4% owned or projected to be. Smotherman. And there's my Austin Cook at less than 2%. So, it's just super heavy chalk at the top. And you're going to have to find your 5th and 6th guy in. You can put all 4 or whatever you want. You can go super chalk on your top 4. It's just the last 2 guys that you need to kind of change up. And so that's where English and Cook, that's on a GPP, that's where I'm going to rely. So gives you an understanding, probably not too far off what you already thought. Real quick, let's go talk weather. So the place that you're going to want to pull up on Windfinder is the Coleman Young International Airport, which is a beauty. This was the mayor of Detroit and pretty much robbed Detroit blind so that they actually named. And what's funny is I don't even know what this airport is. If it's Detroit, used to be Detroit City Airport, that's not even working or in function. So no clue. But anyways, that's what you're going to want to use. It's right next to the course. And we're going to move down to Thursday. And you can see they might get a little rain today. Hopefully it softened the course up a little bit, which is going to help these guys out even more Thursday morning. And you can see that they definitely have a bit of an advantage, as typical in morning. But you can see it can blow up to 28 is what they're stating, 17 on average. And then if you go to Friday, worst case scenario, you're between 9 and 12, 9 and 13. So, for the guys, if you take the PM. So I see advantage there. I'm not saying it's night and day. Don't build all your lineups against it. But is it going to help me make a decision if I'm picking a guy that are the same price and I'm kind of like, you're kind of exactly equal. Well, I'm going to take the guy that's got the early morning start. That's simple. So that's all on that. And didn't really look at the future out. Let's go see. While we're here, what's Saturday? Saturday, nothing. Looks pretty good. And Sunday, nothing. Okay, so the only day right now is stating. Of course, I'm recording this Wednesday afternoon. It's about, I don't know, less than 12 hours or so away. Yeah, it would be Thursday afternoon. Looks a bit breezy. All right, let's go jump back. I'll summarize my picks for you guys and get you out of here. Okay, so my top five, which I call my Fab Five picks, these are the guys that I'd be starting with. Also, you can look to these guys, of course, for one and done. Of course, Patrick Cantlay, Super Chalks, right now projected at 30% ownership. I talked about the Ben Greens. Everybody knows that. I mean, but his putter at times have not been amazing this year. But I see very simple greens, and we've seen what he can do. Like at Caves Valley when he's on bent greens, it could just be over. Max Homa been playing great golf, great with the putter, of course. Multiple wins this year. I'm a fan of Max, so I hope he does well here. And I'm going to plug with those two. Would be kind of the starting and a few lineups. Will Z kind of change it up too. I mean, if I don't want to start, the short of it is if I put a more of a bomber lineup together. And not much as a putter, so where they could get super hot with the putter. Again, we've seen on bent greens, the Masters. I believe in him at the PGA Championship was bent. He can putt, and it's not the long ones, right? And it's not the lag putts. It's that 5-6 footer that we all get a little nervous about. Kevin Kisner with some droopy eyes. I always laugh at this picture. A bit different, right? I mean, you think of these three elite, and like I said, when I think of Kevin, I'm hoping he's going to have to do really good with the putter, considering the way he's been playing tee to green, and the price tag. But I believe that if you start a line off with a Kevin Kisner and this guy right here, it's going to be a bit unique. That's my own personal opinion. If you're leaving off the Cam Youngs, Will Z's, and you're building more of like a short game, experts, that's kind of my thoughts here. So that's the way I would look at it. I'm looking at these two to start lineups with. I'm looking at like a Will Z, Cam Young, like a bomber lineup. And then I'm looking at these guys to kind of create the very strategic plotter, awesome putter lineups. Because I want to see how this all works out. I think it's going to be a mix. I really believe that we're going to have a couple elite tee to green guys up there, and we're going to have a couple of the plotter guys up there. All right, Keegan Bradley been amazing, tee to green, and then the putter on Ben has been awesome. So I'm going to go back to him. Russ Henley, I don't know, it's a bit of just, I like him. He's awesome with the irons and can get super hot with the putter and usually pretty accurate with the fairway. Going back to Mr. Davis Riley, good all around, no issues there. I think he just could not get the putter working at the 3M. Chris Kirk, I think I've been trying to get this guy to work since the RSM where I was all over him. But it's just a putter for him, but he's been doing all right there. I mean, he's just super streaky, but I like him for the price tag. And then kind of a mix-up. So, right, I mean, he's going to be thrown in. Wyndham Clark will be probably in my bomber lineups, and what he does very well off the tee and the putter. Not so good with the irons. All right, on Svensson, I showed you, 9 tournaments in a row he's been gaining. So he's a great ball striker. I think he's could easily win this. I know he missed the cut at the 3M, but I have no issues. He was doing nothing well except putting. Got her up also, I think, underperformed in that field last week, but looking for good things to come back out of him. Troy Merritt, right, made a playoff last year, and see no reason why this course fits him. Again, his skill set works from the green back, and typically a very good putter on bent. Scott Stallings, I think he's a nice little mix of everything. I mean, he's got pop off the bat. His irons can get crazy hot, and he's had some really good putting rounds on Bermuda. He's also been one that I feel like just been waiting to break through to get that win this year. And then Mark Hubbard, which I'm super excited that he's playing. I mean, I hope this doesn't blow up my face. And I think it was purely just DraftKings not changing over. So when a guy withdraws from a tournament previous, I think it just takes a while for them to get it off. But everything looks good to go for Mr. Hubbard, and excited to see that. And then real quick, my cheapies. I told you Harris English. When I say cheapies, these are going to be guys like 7,300 down to the mid sixes. Usually it was 7,000 below, but I'm not going that low. You don't need to. So I like plugging in. I think Harris English could be a unique play. Should be less than 4 or 5% owned. And you're getting quite a bit of talent there. And I hope that, I think he's feeling 100%. And the putter is an elite weapon. Smotherman, kind of a flip side. He'll get put back into that ball striking build that you need to, that they need to have the putter go off. So the upside there. Lee Hodges, I just like his game all around. And for the price tag and what I saw down there. I told you, Rogers, this is kind of the Spidey tingles. I was actually shocked to see. I'll be shocked if his ownership is over 10%. because there's nothing that's super screaming. I mean, he's had, I think if I remember right, decent course history, decent ball striking, and and stroke gain numbers, but nothing that's just screaming that, hey, play Patrick Rogers. But I mean, it's a price tag thing probably too. And I already told you, Austin Cook, that's going to be, going to be my kind of differentiation guy. So either he always, in the GPP format, again, I'm not going to be playing this in cash lineups and stuff like that, but in the GPP, there's going to be quite a bit of him in there. And so we'll see. You guys will know. If Austin Cook is doing well come Sunday, you'll know that I'm probably doing pretty well too. And with that said, would you guys would do me the honor, click that like button, share this with anybody else. If you are somehow still watching this and have not hit that subscribe button, would you please do that? It will not take any time whatsoever, especially if you need to sign up for a YouTube account. And last but not least, follow me on Twitter. I will keep an eye on everything that would involve us needing to know when we got to make some changes to those lineups or anything funny that I see out there, or whatever I think makes sense. So, all right, guys, enjoy the tournament. I am excited to go. It's actually the first tournament that I will be at, I don't know, pre-COVID. So it's been a while. So I'm excited to go watch these guys up close and personal. All right, guys, take care. Have a great weekend.